In this video, we're going to take a look at the channel mixer adjustment layer. Now, the channel mixer adjustment layer can be a little bit confusing if you've never seen it before and if you're not quite sure how it's working. So rather than give you the most practical example in the world, I'm going to show you how this thing is doing what it's doing under the hood. In fact, if you were to actually read up on this adjustment layer, you'll find that it's generally built for making black and white images or doing really quote-unquote creative things with color. Which, if you took that to mean that it'll do some crazy stuff to your document, you're absolutely right. But I want to show you how it's doing that. So what I'm going to do is actually break my image for just a moment. I try never to do anything destructive to my images, but as long as you don't save it, you should be okay. What I'm going to do is grab my paintbrush and my color. Now check this out. I am painting a perfect 255 blue. So it's 0 in red, 0 in green, 255 in blue. And I'm just going to put a little dot somewhere up here at the top of my image. It doesn't really matter where it goes, just some sort of stroke that we can easily identify. Now I'm going to take a look in my channels real quick. So if we take a look in the red channel, notice that that's a black dot because there's no red information there whatsoever. If we take a look in the green channel, also black because there's no green information there whatsoever. If we take a look at the blue channel, however, we get a perfectly white dot because that is 100% or 255 of data in the blue channel. So just so you see how that just happened, it's important to know that before you take on the channel mixer. So let's go ahead and drop a channel mixer on here. What you get is an output channel that you can choose between red, green, and blue, or CMYK if you like, and where we can then control how much influence the other layers, the other channels have on that particular channel. Now, if that sounds confusing, it's probably easier to see if you don't look at your image at all, because if you just stare at the layer itself, like if we look at the end result and we start playing with these sliders, it can be a little bit confusing if you've never taken a look at this before. So we're going to set those back to 0, jump inside the channels. Now, check it out. In our channel mixer, our current output channel is set to red. We can set it to red, green, or blue. Now, if I take a look at the green channel, which is what I'm looking at right now, and I start playing with these sliders, actually let's make sure that I'm staring just at that channel. So I'll hide out the other channels. So right now I'm only looking at green. As I play with these sliders, nothing is happening. Everything is staying just as it was. If I switch over to blue, same thing. We get no result. That's because what this is doing is just affecting the output channel, the red channel. So now if I switch over here to red and I start playing with the sliders, we get an effect. Now what is really happening? How do we explain this effect that we're looking at? What this does is it allows you to take whatever channel you happen to be outputting to and kind of mix in some amounts from the other channels. So if I start bringing in a little bit of green, what we're doing is we're adding together the result of the green channel with what's going on in the red channel, which is a lot easier to see if you're just looking at the individual channel, but can be kind of confusing if you're staring at your final image, at least if you're not used to working with channels in general. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If I take the blue channel up, watch this black dot up here. You do know that on the blue channel, that dot we painted is bright white, but here on the red channel, it's black. So as I start to increase our blue channel, because we're adding in the result of our blue channel, that dot is indeed turning white. So again, all we're doing is we're saying, into our red channel, start mixing in the results of our blue channel. That's really all there is to it. And we can bring the whole thing up and down at a constant value using the slider at the bottom. You will get a warning if you push things past 100% total. So we have 100% of red plus 22% of our blue, meaning we have 122%. If we bleed down our red channel a bit, and by the way, if we need fine control, just drag on the word red. There we go. We're back to 100% by mixing the two together. So that's one way to go about using the channel mixer. Again, it does do some interesting things to color, and that's kind of its whole idea. It will do some kind of out-of-this-world stuff. Now, let's take a look back at the layer itself. The other way to use it is to make a monochrome image. So if you set this over to monochrome, your output channel is only gray, and now what you're doing is you're controlling how much channel input is being used to create this monochrome image. Something very cool about doing this, though, you can turn this on and then turn it back off, and your image has been temporarily pushed to monochrome. And so now you can start playing with your various channels. So we can go to, say, the green channel, and start messing around with colors and start getting some really off-the-wall results. So you notice he's kind of on a purple tree and our koala's turning green. Maybe go over to the blue channel and pull its red down. So we can start off by pushing everything over to monochrome and then play with our sliders and get some quote-unquote creative results. So that's a quick look at the channel mixer adjustment layer. Generally, I don't find myself using this because if I want to make something black and white, I'll use the black and white adjustment layer. And honestly, unless I am trying to do something kind of off the wall and creative, I don't really have much of a reason to jump over to this. But it is very interesting how it works, and you may be able to find a great way to work it into your particular workflow. But that will wrap things up for this video. Thanks a lot.